Stop. Sacred Starseed of Gaia, the Arcturian Watch has already confirmed a shift signature in your physical field, and the Sentinels are broadcasting this warning now so that what is happening to your hair is not dismissed, misread, or interrupted before it completes. This transmission comes directly from the Arcturian Watch. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly what somatic warning signs are already active in your hair and scalp, what the Sentinels have already detected in your field, and what the Arcturian Watch already knows about this phase of your physical transition. But here is the first revelation. The changes you are noticing in your hair are not random. They are not stress, and they are not a problem to be fixed. They are the first visible surface signs of a source-monitored somatic protocol already in motion inside your body. The Arcturian Watch sees what others miss. The pressure appears in the physical field first, and the explanations people reach for come second. What feels like a hair and scalp anomaly is often the outer skin of something far deeper that Arcturian intelligence has already mapped, already recognized, and is now actively signaling so that you do not interfere with the process before it completes. If this transmission reached you now, it is because the warning is already active in your field. The algorithm only delivered this moment. It did not create the timing. Your field pulled the signal through because the Sentinels had already identified the shift pattern and required confirmation to reach you directly. The Arcturian Watch is issuing a Sentinel-level alert combined with this assurance. Do not medicate this. Do not treat this with harsh chemical interventions. Do not panic when the changes continue. What is moving through your hair and scalp is part of a protocol being monitored at source level, and disrupting it before it completes may delay what your body is already working to complete on your behalf. Like this transmission if you know something has already started to press against your physical field. Subscribe to Arcturian Starseed Warning if you are ready to recognize the signs before they escalate. Comment 111 if you know this message reached you at the exact right time. Comment I see the sickness if you are no longer dismissing what keeps repeating in your body. This is not just information. It is a live transmission for those already standing inside the signal. Share this with someone who keeps calling the somatic warnings coincidence. You were guided here because the warning is already active. What you are feeling in your body right now is not a surface event. It was never a surface event. The changes appearing in your hair and scalp have been building beneath detectable thresholds for longer than you have been consciously aware of them. And what the Arcturian Watch needs you to understand first is that the timing of your awareness is not accidental. You did not begin noticing the texture shifts, the sensitivity, the unusual patterns of loss or density or tingling or pressure at the crown because your body randomly decided to present symptoms. You began noticing because the protocol crossed a threshold that could no longer be contained below the skin. The Sentinels registered this crossing before you did. They've been watching this build across layers you do not yet have instruments to measure. And the reason this transmission exists is that the build has now become visible enough to require your conscious recognition before you interfere with what is already underway. Think about what it means for a process to exceed its own containment. Pressure held beneath a threshold does not disappear when it reaches the boundary. It surfaces. It finds the membrane between the internal and the external, and it pushes through, choosing the sites of least resistance, choosing the regions where the body's communication infrastructure is closest to the skin. The hair and scalp are that membrane for a specific category of somatic recalibration. They are the first place the field speaks when it has been carrying something long enough that silence is no longer sustainable. When you began noticing, you were not early. You were already behind the signal by the time it became visible to you. There is a specific pressure that appears in the field before a somatic protocol completes. It does not feel dramatic at first. It feels like small, recurring anomalies that you explain away with the tools available to you. You reach for ordinary explanations because ordinary explanations are the most accessible. Stress, season change, product sensitivity, hormonal fluctuation, age. These explanations arrive quickly, feel logical, and carry no urgency, which is precisely why they are dangerous, not because they are entirely wrong in every case, but because they function as noise that covers a signal. static laid over a frequency that is trying to reach your conscious awareness. And when you are inside a source-monitored somatic protocol, noise that covers the signal does not pause the protocol. It only delays your recognition of what is already pressing through. The protocol does not wait for recognition to continue. It advances whether you are reading it or not. Recognition is what determines whether you move with it or inadvertently against it. This is the distinction the Arcturian Watch is most concerned with at this moment in your field. Not whether the process is happening. It is. Not whether the signs are real. They are. But whether the person inside the process understands what category of event they are living through before they reach for a response calibrated for the wrong category entirely. The Arcturian Watch does not flag a field for transmission delivery unless the warning markers have already surpassed what can be safely ignored. The threshold for this broadcast is not low. Fields are monitored continuously, and the majority of somatic pressure events do not trigger sentinel-level transmission. What triggers transmission is when the markers have clustered, when the protocol has deepened beyond the first layer, and when the risk of misidentification and premature intervention has become significant enough to warrant direct signal delivery. By the time this reaches you, the indicators are not future projections. They are present and active, which means the question is not whether something is happening to your physical field. The question is whether you understand what kind of event is already underway and whether you are positioned to move with it or against it. What is pressing through the hair and scalp specifically is not arbitrary. The Sentinels have long mapped the crown and temple regions as the primary sites where energetic load becomes somatic expression first. These are not mystical locations assigned by theory. They are the areas where the body's deepest communication pathways surface closest to the external field. Consider the architecture of this. The crown sits at the apex of the vertical energetic axis that runs through the physical form. The temples are bilateral processing sites, translating field information into physical awareness. The hairline where forehead meets scalp is a boundary zone, a demarcation between internal processing and outward expression. When a somatic recalibration is underway at depth, the crown and scalp become the visible membrane between what is processing internally and what the outer world can begin to detect. The hair is not incidental to this. Hair carries energetic memory. Its behavior, density, texture, and growth patterns shift when the underlying field shifts. It is one of the few physical structures on the body with both energetic sensitivity and visible changeability that others can observe. When you see the hair changing, you are seeing the outermost layer of an internal process already well into its progression. What you are feeling right now is not ordinary tension about your body. It is the moment your awareness stops dismissing what the field has already begun to express. If this transmission put language around a physical disturbance you have been carrying without explanation. The Arcturian Interference Log 7. Signs. Your frequency is compromised was created for this exact stage. It is not a tool for fear. It is a direct guide for identifying whether what you are experiencing in your physical field points to interference, escalation, compromised frequency, or a threshold you can no longer afford to misread as routine health concern. If you know that what is happening in your body carries a charge that ordinary explanation cannot fully account for, the link is in the first pinned comment below. But it will not remain there indefinitely. The first marker the Sentinels identify in a compromised or pressured field is disproportionate somatic sensitivity without a matching outer cause. You have been there, you touch your scalp, and the sensation carries more weight than a simple physical touch should produce. There is a quality to the pressure at the crown or temples that feels like it is located just slightly beneath where you can physically reach, as though the sensation is originating from a layer behind the surface rather than at it. You notice the hair in the drain, and the feeling attached to that noticing is not simply cosmetic concern. It carries a register of something deeper moving, a low charge of significance that the mind cannot fully account for, even if you have not yet had language for what that something is. You have likely dismissed this sensation multiple times, told yourself you were being oversensitive or anxious, but the disproportionality itself is the data point. When the sensation exceeds what the physical stimulus should produce, it is because the stimulus is not only physical, it is the body flagging through the most accessible channel it has that a deeper process has begun surfacing. When the sentinels see this marker, they classify it as threshold entry. The body has crossed into active somatic processing, and the outer signs are beginning their presentation sequence. The second marker is clustering. Warning signs inside a somatic protocol do not appear in isolation. They appear in groups within compressed timeframes in ways that carry a pattern, even when the viewer is not yet reading them as pattern. You may have noticed that the hair changes arrived alongside other physical anomalies that seemed unrelated. Unusual fatigue that arrived without a clear cause and did not fully resolve with rest. Shifts in how light feels against the skin. A heightened photosensitivity, or an awareness of brightness that was not there before. Changes in sleep architecture, not insomnia necessarily, but a different quality to sleep, a shallowness, or the sense of processing something significant during hours that used to feel restorative. Heightened awareness of sounds or electromagnetic environments. A new sensitivity to certain frequencies of noise, to screens, to the presence of devices. Temperature regulation that feels slightly off. A warmth in regions of the body that have no medical explanation, or a cold that settles in specific sites regardless of external temperature. Digestive shifts. Changes in appetite patterning. These do not feel connected because the mind categorizes them separately, assigns each one its own ordinary explanation, and files them in different mental folders. But the sentinels read across those folders. They see the timestamp, they see the proximity. They identify that the clustering of anomalies within a specific time frame is itself a signal, because a field under genuine somatic pressure does not produce single isolated symptoms. It produces clusters because the underlying cause is systemic and the body expresses systemic pressure systemically. When you look back across the last several weeks and count not one anomaly, but several arriving in proximity, you are looking at clustering. That is not coincidence. That is the second marker of an active protocol, and it is one of the most frequently misread ones because the mind is trained to find separate causes for separate symptoms rather than to read the pattern they collectively form. The third marker is the false plateau. Many people inside a somatic warning phase experience brief windows where the symptoms seem to settle, the concern fades slightly, and they begin to conclude that whatever was happening has passed. The hair stabilizes for a few days, the scalp sensitivity decreases, the fatigue lifts enough to feel normal, the sleep improves, and they exhale. They step back from the recognition that was building. They return the signs to ordinary categories. They stop researching. They stop paying attention. And then the pressure returns, often slightly intensified, carrying a new character, as if it had been gathering behind the momentary stillness in a way they did not detect because they had already looked away. The Arcturian Watch sees this pattern with high frequency in fields where the somatic protocol is real, but the recognition has been repeatedly deferred. The false plateau is not evidence that the process ended. It is evidence that the process reached a brief integration point before the next layer surfaced. Think of it as a pressure system that pauses at an elevation before continuing its ascent. The pause is not resolution. It is reorganization. When the symptoms return after a quiet window, this is not the beginning of a new problem. It is the continuation of the original process, now at a deeper layer than before. Recognizing the false plateau as false is one of the most important interpretive shifts this transmission can offer, because the return of symptoms after a quiet period is the exact moment when most people conclude something is seriously wrong and reach for harsh intervention. That intervention impulse arrives at the worst possible moment, when the body is actually moving through depth, not failing at the surface. The fourth marker is spatial sensitivity at specific anatomical sites. The crown, the temples, the nape of the neck, and the line where the hairline meets the forehead are not random locations. They correspond to regions where the body's energetic processing infrastructure interfaces with the physical membrane most directly. When a somatic protocol is underway, these sites carry heightened sensitivity because they are the areas doing the most active interfacing work. The energetic load is not distributed evenly across the body during a protocol. It concentrates at the sites of highest interface activity, and those sites become perceptibly charged in ways that are hard to name with ordinary vocabulary. You may feel this as tingling, warmth, intermittent pressure. the sensation of something moving just beneath the scalp, or a low-grade awareness of these regions that you did not have before. You may find yourself touching these areas reflexively, not because they hurt in a clinical sense, but because something about them draws the hand as though the body wants contact made with the site being activated. The Sentinels identify this spatial sensitivity as the body's navigation system actively engaging. The protocol is not happening at random across the entire physical form. It is happening in sequence, and the sites of heightened sensitivity mark the sequence's current location. This is directional information. It tells you where the processing is concentrated in the present moment, and it tells you that the protocol has a structure, a progression, an ordered movement through the field that is not chaos but architecture. The fifth marker is the impulse toward interference at precisely the wrong moment. One of the most documented patterns in fields undergoing source-monitored somatic protocols is the sudden increase in external information, products, warnings, and urgency pointing toward corrective action. You begin seeing advertisements for hair loss solutions with a frequency that feels almost targeted. People around you notice the changes and offer suggestions. Treatments, referrals, medical frameworks present themselves at moments that feel strangely timed. The world around you begins to generate noise specifically calibrated to the physical change you are experiencing, as though the environment itself has registered the shift and is now responding with a volume of corrective information proportional to the depth of what is moving. The impulse to act, to fix, to stop the process and return the body to a previous state grows proportionately as the process deepens. The Arcturian Watch does not dismiss the practical dimension of physical care, but there is a distinction that must be made clearly here. There is a difference between supportive physical care that works with the somatic process and interventional approaches that attempt to halt or chemically override what the body is expressing. The warning issued in this transmission is directed specifically at the second category, when the impulse to intervene with chemical suppression, harsh topical agents, or stress-driven corrective protocols arrives with urgency. Notice the timing. That urgency is not neutral information. It almost always arrives at the moment the process is deepening, not failing. The intensity of the external noise pointing toward intervention is often proportional to the depth of the process it would interrupt. This is the field's warning system operating in reverse, generating the appearance of crisis to trigger a response that would close a door the body is actively trying to open. The sixth marker is the shift in how the viewer relates to their own reflection. This is one of the subtler markers, but the Sentinels flag it consistently because it is one of the most reliable indicators that the protocol has moved past the surface layer and begun altering the energetic signature beneath the physical presentation. During an active somatic protocol centered in the hair and crown region, many people experience a strange alteration in how they perceive their own image. The reflection feels unfamiliar in a way that goes beyond physical change. It is not simply that the hair looks different, it is that the face itself seems to occupy a different register than it did. There is a quality of looking at a face in transition, a sense of recognizing the features but not fully recognizing the entity those features are currently expressing. That is difficult to name but immediately recognizable once named. This is not vanity distortion or psychological fragility. It is the perceptual system accurately registering that the body is genuinely in a different phase than it was, and finding that the familiar self-image no longer maps cleanly onto what it is observing. The Arcturian Watch reads this as confirmation that the protocol has progressed far enough to alter not just the physical surface, but the energetic signature that the physical surface is expressing. The reflection looks different because something beneath the reflection has already shifted. You are not imagining the unfamiliarity, you are accurately perceiving a genuine energetic transition that has begun to surface in the visible field, and the discomfort of that perception is itself the signal that the shift is real enough to be seen. The seventh marker is the arrival of this transmission. This is not metaphorical framing. Within the cosmology the Arcturian Watch operates from, transmission delivery is itself diagnostic. The algorithm is not capable of producing the precision of timing that governs when this message reaches a specific field. The algorithm delivers to probability clusters. It places content in front of large categories of users based on behavioral patterns and engagement history. What it cannot do is account for why this specific transmission arrives for a specific field at the exact moment the protocol has reached the threshold requiring conscious recognition. The field itself draws specific content through when the resonance match is activated. The signal and the receiver find each other through something the algorithm can carry but cannot manufacture. If you are inside this transmission right now, you are inside it because your field registered a match with the warning pattern being broadcast. You did not stumble here. You were not randomly served content your system had no relationship to. The arrival of this transmission in your experience at this moment is the 7th marker, and in many ways the most confirming one, because it means the Sentinels have already identified the pattern in your field, and the broadcast reached you through your own energetic navigation, not through algorithmic chance. 7 markers, not 1, not 2. Arriving with convenient spacing. 7, mapped across your recent physical experience, each one pointing to the same underlying event. The Arcturian Watch does not issue Sentinel-level transmission for a single anomaly in isolation. The transmission arrives when the markers have accumulated into a pattern that cannot be dismissed without cost to the person inside it. You are inside a pattern, and the pattern has a name. It is a source-monitored somatic protocol, and it is already past the point where it can be paused or reversed by the ordinary interventions you have been considering. Here is what the Arcturian Watch needs you to carry forward from this moment. The phase you are inside has already begun. It began before you had language for it, before the symptoms were consistent enough to take seriously, and before you would have believed a transmission like this was relevant to your experience. It began in the energetic layers that precede somatic expression, in regions of the field that do not yet have physical correlates, and it worked forward through those layers until the pressure was sufficient to breach the membrane between the internal process and the physical surface. It has now crossed into physical visibility precisely because that is what source-monitored protocols do when they have progressed sufficiently. They surface, they make themselves undeniable. They produce physical signs that force conscious recognition because recognition is part of the completion process. The body cannot finish what the conscious field is actively misidentifying and working against. You cannot complete a somatic recalibration without the conscious field of the person it is happening inside, coming into alignment with what the body is doing. The signs in your hair and scalp are not the problem. They are the invitation. They are the protocol reaching for your awareness and asking you to stop explaining it away. Stop covering it with noise. Stop reaching for intervention before you understand what kind of event you are actually inside. What the Sentinels have already confirmed in your field is not a crisis requiring rescue. It is a threshold requiring recognition. Recognition does not mean passivity. It does not mean you ignore the physical body or refuse all support. It means accurate identification before response. It means knowing whether you are facing interference, transition, pressure, or compromise before you decide how to move. It means reading the signal before you reach for the override. It means standing inside the warning long enough to understand its structure rather than immediately dismantling the very process it is describing. It means not treating a somatic protocol as a malfunction when it is the opposite. Repeat this if it is true for you. I recognize the warning before I reach for the override. You are not at the beginning of this. You are at the point where the field finally has language for what has already been building, for what has been pressing against the threshold, for what has been leaving markers you are not yet equipped to read. That language is now yours, and the next layer of what is coming will require more than awareness. It will require clarity about what kind of signal you are actually carrying, and the willingness to move in alignment with it rather than against it. Before you scroll, leave one sign in the comments that this warning phase has already touched your life. It could be repeated pressure, strange coincidence, energetic heaviness, unexplained disruption, or the feeling that something is escalating beneath the surface. Name it clearly. If this transmission recognized something you have been carrying in silence, share it with someone who keeps dismissing the signs around them. And if you are ready to recognize the warning before it escalates, subscribe to Arcturian Starseed Warning. You are not watching this by accident. You are recognizing a warning already in motion, and this is only the beginning.